Let's continue talking about basic number sense skills to help your child learn math using these fun educational games. Welcome back to Lessons for Little Blessings, or just welcome if you're new. I'm Tessa and I'm a mom and a teacher, and I like to share educational activities and different ideas to help your kids thrive. So the last video we talked about foundational skills for place value and the importance of that and just different things you could do to get your child started. And I'm really sorry about the wind. It is super windy today, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So if you missed that video, you can check it out. I'll have a link up top, and then down in the description box there'll be a link to that video if you want to check it out after this one. So that's kind of the basic foundation. Today in this video we're going to go beyond that, and I'm going to give you some specific practical games that you can play with your child, or your child can do on their own, and it'll kind of just keep building their confidence with place value as they increase into bigger and bigger numbers. A lot of these games are adaptable from like preschool to third grade and beyond, kind of give or take. So they're very flexible. You can kind of adjust them as you need to. And there'll be a list in the description for different printables. If you want to print out some of the games, you can actually kind of just write a lot of them too on a piece of paper or whiteboard or something. But if you like the printable copies, or there will be some worksheet type games, those will be down listed below, as well as some materials. And I did a little material segment in the part 1 video too, so you can check that out for more specifics, or you'll just see the materials that I'm using and can kind of figure out what you need. A quick activity to do with the blocks is just to have a big pile, and I've got 20 here. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a handful and you're going to give it to your child, have them count those. So they'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you'll ask, does it make a 10? So do they have 10? This time I happen to. Let's say I didn't. Let's say I had this many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they'll say they have 8. And then you'll ask how many more until you make 10. And then they will have to figure out, kind of like the 10 frames, how many more will make 10. At this point, they might choose to connect it. We're going to look at making a 10 here for the next part. So they'll see they have 8 here, so they'll have to figure out they need 2 more to make a 10. So now they have a 10, and then you can ask how many are left over. So they've got this extra pile here, so they've got 1 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have another 10, so you could ask, can you make another 10 with that? So here they could make 2 10s. That was starting with 20. So you can pick different starting amounts. So if I had just this amount to start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they have 1 10 and 7 1s, and you can ask them what number. You could have them write it on a whiteboard. You could also have them make towers. Kids love to make towers. So this could be, you could make a tower and then they could see these. I actually wouldn't have them link these together, because for the place value, we really want them to see how these sticks are 1 10. So we're not going to link these up because there are only 8 here. If there were 10, we could make a 10 and link them together. And the reason is, as they progress on and they start using these base 10 blocks where it's already made up into a 10 and loose ones, if these are connected all together and there's only 8, it's going to be rather confusing, because they're going to get used to the fact that just one stick is a 10. So they will just quickly glance at this. If I didn't have a bigger one to compare it to, if they just quickly glance, they see a stick, so they assume that's 10, when in reality it's not. So that's why for this activity and place value with 10s and loose ones, we want those ones to remain loose. So hopefully that makes sense. You could turn this into a partner game and have one partner pick, we could have a whole pile, have one partner pick a pile, and then they count theirs, and the other partner has to figure out how many more so they can build a 10 stick, and then they could alternate back and forth turns. So you can do this a lot of different ways. So here we've got some 10 frame flashcards. If they're not familiar with it, you might just simply start by using them as flashcards. So you just go through and your child says the number that's on it. So 1, okay, so this is 5. So they'll start getting that visual pattern. And then from there, once they know these numbers, you can ask how many more until 10. So then they will say the part that's missing. So still 5 on that one. Okay, so there's 3 missing here. So they'll say 3. 1 missing. So you can go through these really fast, make it more like a game, see how fast they can go. Kids like to play games where it's like, how fast? So that can be a 10 frame flashcard flash. Similar to the 10 frame flash, this is a part whole flashcard game. So they are working on filling in the missing parts. So it varies whether there's a part missing and they have to find the missing number. When they know one part and they know the whole thing, they have to find the other part. Or sometimes the whole thing is missing, the whole number. So they know both of the parts and then they need to find the whole. And so this just helps. Again, they're making 10 and they're becoming very familiar and comfortable with ways to make the number 10. You could use cards similar to this and make it kind of like a flashcard game. And this is in expanded form. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't forget to check out that part 1 video I did, because that'll kind of explain some of that, but just a different way to write this number broken up into 10s and 1s. And so you could flash this to them and then see how fast they could say or even write that number in standard form on a whiteboard. So if we flashed this, it would be 38. So you could play where they just say it to you or they have to write it quickly. You could have them just write it basic like that. You could have where they write it in a 10s and 1s chart. So they would have 38. So you could do this flash game different ways. There are a lot of different place value puzzles. So you can buy sets similar to this where they match the number with the picture of the blocks, and you can get them in, going from 1s to hundreds and thousands. You can, break them up and just find out the ones that you guys are working on. If you're just working on 2-digit numbers, you can find those. There are some links below for printable ones. If you don't want to go buy these or you can't find any, you can print some and then do puzzles that way. And some of them even have more than just the number standard form and the blocks. Some have even like the standard form, the expanded form, and so on. Similar to the puzzles are just some matching games. These are 3 digits that I was doing with 2nd graders, but you can turn these over, kind of lay them all out. Like you might put out all the big ones face down and then all these ones face down, where they turn over one of each. And if it's a match, kind of like the game Memory, they get to keep the match. And if it's not, they turn them back over. So you can play some of these that way. Moving on to some dice games. So we've got just a basic dice here. And then this was just a blank cube. I found these at the Dollar Tree. They're just foam little things. And I just wrote O, T's, and H's on them for 1s, 10s, 100s. They make dice that are like 9-sided dice, and they have more of the digits on them. So that might be better so they can see that they're obviously more than 6 digits, right? But just to give you an idea of the game. So you'll roll, and if you're working with just 1s and 10s at the time, you'll just have them re-roll if they get an H. But so this will tell them that they have 2 and it goes in the 1s place. So they're gonna, oh, there's my pen. They're gonna build this number here. And then they have a 1 in the 10s place. And let's say we're just doing the smaller numbers. So they could do their number this way. If they're little, you could have them also build with the blocks to match that number that they just rolled. You could turn this into a partner game where there's 2 sets here and both partners go, and whoever gets the bigger number wins. So then they're also comparing numbers, which is a great skill. Could turn it into kind of a speed game where it's whoever fills in a number first, and then they could even compare it after that. So you have to keep rolling until you get each place. So that would be 6 tens, and we would have to keep rolling. There's that was 6 hundreds. That one's 6 tens. And then you have to keep rolling because I've already got an H, so I have to keep going until I get a 1. There we go. Okay, so then I'm done, and then if my partner's still rolling to try to get a number, then I win. Or you can play at points, like you get 1 point for being the faster one, and then you get, like, say 2 points, or you could just keep it 1 point, however many points you want to designate, and then they get another point for whoever has the larger number or the bigger number. So a lot of different variations and fun ways to make it a partner game. These are a few more dice games, and I won't go into it too much detail. I'm just going to actually link a video here because I did a dice video where I explained these games, so you can check that out. But these are great for 2-digit numbers, and you can actually find some with 3-digit numbers, or you honestly could just do this on a whiteboard and have them keep track, and you could make it a 3-digit game for those older kids. So it's kind of similar where they're rolling 2 dice, and then they're trying to create the larger number here to move, and then here they're trying to do the same thing. There's a little more strategy involved in this one, which is kind of fun for those older kids because they're trying to get to 100 without going over. So, okay, time for some board games now. So this one's called the Place Value Path, and you will need a die and then any kind of little markers or chips. You need one to keep track around around the outside is kind of the game board part. And then you need either some markers to keep track on the inside or just an actual dry erase marker or these little chips. These were from the Dollar Tree. So just any little thing to cover spaces. This is kind of like bingo. So they'll roll. Let's see, we're starting here. And we'll jump 1, 2, 3. They'll count this number 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 1, 2, 3. So we're looking for 73. So they can either cover it with a chip or you can cover it with, kind of color it in. And to make this a 2-player game, you just need 2 different kind of markers. So that person's here, this person could start, and they're doing the same thing. You're just rolling and you're going around the outside. If you say the number correctly and find it on the board, you color that for you. So maybe just have a different color whiteboard marker. This is laminated, so it kind of turns it into whiteboard marker. Or if it's just a piece of paper, they can just color however they would like. So here are a couple more board games. The first few are with 2-digit numbers, and then there's one with 3 digits at the end. So I like these because they use different ways to represent a number. So they've got the drawing, the block drawing, the word form, the place value units and tens and ones. A quick little organization tip. What I do with a lot of these games is I'll print them out, put them in sheet protectors a lot just to kind of keep the durability. And then I have all the materials they need in a gallon size Ziploc baggie. So they've got the dice, the markers, the chips, anything they need, it's all right there. Here is a look at a couple of those 3-digit board games. They're very similar to the other ones with the different ways to represent a number. They just have 3 digits here. Time for some card games. So this first one, Make a 10, is just using a regular plain deck with the face cards removed. So you've just got the ace through 10. And what we're doing here is just taking turns flipping over a card to a discard pile. And when both of the cards on either side of the deck make a 10, the first person to say 10 gets to either keep all the cards, or you can just have them take that pair of numbers that makes a 10. So you're either collecting the most cards or the most 10s. This next game is called Uno Place Value War. And really you don't have to have Uno cards to play it, but Uno cards are pretty fun. So the way this game works is each player will take 2 cards, and you're building the biggest number that you can with those 2 cards. So they've got to understand the 10s and the 1s and how they can arrange those to make the largest number. Then the other player takes 2 cards and they do the same thing. They make their biggest number they can, and then both players compare their numbers together. And so the person with the largest number either gets to keep those cards if you want to play that way, or you can just keep score like we're doing here on a whiteboard. So you could either go through all the cards and then see who has the most points, or you could just play to a certain number of points, say who gets to 5 first wins. Now this game is great because you can adapt this to whether you're working on 2-digit numbers, 3-digit, 4-digit, or beyond. So you would just draw that many cards of all the places that you want. So if you are working on 3-digit numbers with your child, like you see here, you will grab 3 cards. So they will have a ones, tens, and hundreds place, and you'll see how that makes it a little bit more difficult because there's more combinations you can do to create your largest number with those digits. Last but not least, let's talk about a few practice pages or worksheets that they can do. These are great for independent practice. This one's not so much a worksheet. I actually have this laminated. You could print this out and do a worksheet. I chose to laminate it so we could just keep doing it on and on. Little tip, if you don't have a laminator, which I don't now, so I just put it in a sheet protector, and that is dry erase. It'll wipe right off just the same. So this is great practice for writing those numbers in standard form and expanded form, as well as using those base 10 blocks to build that number. I'm having him build it and then draw it, just to help make that connection. Pretty soon when they get really good at drawing the blocks and they don't need the physical blocks, then you just remove that support and you just have them draw it, because that is way easier actually. But since he's still working on these foundational skills, I want him still building and then drawing it. This next one I like because you can make it a game, or you can just use the recording page, which just is like a worksheet, so they can use the blocks and count their tens, ones, and then even hundreds in this one as well. I like pages like this one. I don't want to get out all the blocks, but it still has that picture support of the blocks on the page, so it's really helpful. Here's an example of one with 3-digit numbers for older kids. As always, I hope you and your child have fun playing these games and learning about place value. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video, and please consider subscribing to my channel for more math, reading, writing, and other educational activities to help your kids thrive. Be sure to check out that part 1 video if you missed it. The link will be down below. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.